Monday at noon, which means it's time for Ski-U-Mah Weekly here on the Minnesota Sports Facebook page. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Justin Gaard. We're brought to you, as always, by the Minnesota Lottery. And if you can't tell, we are kind of a little bit further east than we usually are, and than we have been for the football season. We're at here at Mariucci Arena in the club room for a very good reason. We're here to talk to the head hockey coach, Don Lucia. Coach, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for taking the time. We always kind of like to get just a season review, or not review, but a recap of how it's gone so far. I know you just spent a couple of days in Notre Dame. Played really well. Got a lot of shots. Unfortunately, not a lot of goals, but give us kind of the sense of how the year's gone.
Well, if you up until this weekend, I thought the year had gone very well for us. We knew that we had a very difficult non-conference schedule, the teams that we were playing. We knew the Big Ten was going to be a whole lot better this year with not only the returning teams improving, but adding Notre Dame, who was in the Frozen Four a year ago, and returning most of their team. The year got off, I think, to a decent start. We had a little bit of trouble, a little disjointed coming out of our own zone early on, scoring some goals. I think Eric got off to a really good start at net, which is something we all know how important that is with that position. But I think we've improved a lot during the course of the season. Up until this weekend, obviously losing two games was disappointing, but we had put ourselves in pretty good position nationally. Even in the Big Ten, we were in pretty good shape. Now we got to do some catch up after the weekend, but I like the way we've improved. I like the way that, for the most part, defensively, we haven't given up a lot. We're starting to generate more from an offensive standpoint, even though the goals have been difficult to come by. Some of it's, Harvard the weekend before was in the Frozen Four.
Sure.
Don't give up many goals, but we got to get the offense on track. I think that's the most important thing for us as we continue to look ahead with this season, that the guys that we're counting on to score, we have to start to have them find the net a little bit more often than they have.
A reminder, we can take Facebook questions in our couple of segments today. We'll talk gymnastics in our second segment. Same as always, drop them in the comments section. We'll get to them in just a minute or two. You mentioned the early season schedule, and you do look at it. I mean, it's a meat grinder. You've got UMD, you've got Harvard, you've got North Dakota back, Notre Dame obviously in the league. As a coach, is that something you like, don't like, can't control, so don't care? Or how do you approach that season? You've done this a long time when you have a really difficult non-conference.
Well, we control our non-conference, and one of the things I've always tried to do, I think it's important for our program, for our fans, that we play good quality teams. I mean, even Clarkson is sitting, I think they're 12-3-1 in the year, and two of the three losses are to us here last month. We knew they were a good team. We knew Harvard was a Frozen Four team, and I think probably two-thirds of our teams on our schedule played in the NCAA tournament a year ago, including 7 games against teams that were in the Frozen Four. But that's what our teams want. At times it's difficult because maybe you don't have success on a given weekend, but over the long haul, I've always been a believer that if you play good teams, it's going to make you a better team at the end.
So we are sitting here in Mariucci Arena. To our left, back shoulder, there's a brand new Athletes Village going up. There's a lot of change and a lot of improvements being made. I'm curious, just take me through the improvements that have been done here at Mariucci and what that's meant to your program.
Well, the big improvement has been our locker room area. Mariucci was opened in 1993, and we hadn't done a thing to it. And last summer, we had raised the money to completely renovate it. We redid our locker room, training room, added a hot and cold tub, which was really important for our guys in a rehab situation. We added a video room, which we are using almost on a daily basis. Before, we never had anything like that. We just sit in your hard stall and throw a screen down. And we have a lounge now that the guys can take advantage of. And I think it's been better for camaraderie with our guys. It might be a Sunday afternoon, they come in and get in the tubs and watch a Vikings game. So they spend a little bit more time in the locker room. But from a coaching standpoint, it's better. We're more efficient. And the things that we can do with the use of video, and I think that's been really important.
You also made a change on the coaching staff because Grant Patolny got a head coaching job, and you bring in another Gopher, Scott Bell, from the Penguins most recently. How's that transition been as you assimilate to a new guy coming in here?
Well, he's done a really good job.
Yeah.
We knew he would. I mean, you look at his background, he was a former Gopher captain, extremely hard worker, had a very successful career at Hamlin as a head coach. They were really struggled before he got there. He took him to an MIAC title, got out of it for a couple of years, but just realized how much he missed it, and then been part of the Penguins organization, has a couple Stanley Cup rings, and really excelled at the scouting end of things and as a recruiter. And that's a lot of what Grant did while he was here, and we're certainly happy for Grant that he became a head hockey coach. But Scott's brought in some new ideas. He's brought in new enthusiasm and energy. He works with the forwards, helps on the power play, and just been a real positive to our staff this year.
How often do the guys ask him about like Crosby and Malkin and stuff? Is that what they get out of the way first, and then they listen to the rest of the stuff?
Well, I'm sure they've talked to him a little bit about that, and he's got the bling right now with his 2 Stanley Cup rings.
Sure.
that are pretty nice. But when I look at Scott, I mean, he's a Gopher. There's no doubt that he's one of those guys that he wasn't a superstar when he came here, just a lunch pail kid from St. Paul that overachieved to become a captain and just wants to do everything to make Gopher hockey the best it can possibly be.
Let's take some Facebook questions, starting with Valerie. After playing pretty well this past weekend, what are you looking to improve on this weekend going up against Wisconsin here at 3M Arena at Mariucci?
Well, I think the most important thing is offense, right? the defense cry at a basketball game, but we generate a lot. We did a lot of good things. We didn't spend much time in our own zone, which I like that fact. But we can't break down defensively like we did a couple times on Saturday. That was disappointing to me. But we got to get going offensively. I think that's the most important thing for us. That you got to get to 3 or 4 goals most nights to give yourself a chance to win and continue to give up that 1 or 2. So the frustrating part of the weekend is that we probably should have came in at the split. We've had a great chance to win the game on Friday, but give Notre Dame credit. They found a way to win the game 1-0.
When you go through a weekend where you get swept and there's offensive issues like you mentioned, are you one, and maybe it's year to year, you've done this forever, are you one that's coming in Monday throwing sticks and going crazy, or are you one that says, well, the guys are playing well, it's just a matter of finishing? How do you handle that balance, especially even early in the year here, as we still are? It's
a good question. I mean, we have such a long season.
Right.
I've always used the phrase, you're never as good as you think you are, never as bad as you think you are. It's good to watch the video. Sometimes the snap judgment after a game on Saturday, you're upset and you lose. But when you watch a video, you see some of the good things that you're doing, the things that are trending in the right direction. And in our sport, sometimes you run into a hot goalie. And when I was watching the video on Sunday, I didn't realize that they had the graph. We finally scored a goal. The kid had 90 straight saves over the last number of games.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to tip your hat to the other team that played well. They have a really good defensive core, but I think we got to work to get into the hard areas. We like to call it bloody nose alley in front of the opposing net, and that's where we got to score more goals.
One constant through all the change and realignment and everything the last few years has been the Wisconsin Badgers. You've had great games with them through the years. I know a couple of years ago they went through some struggles, made a coaching change. What do you know about your opponent this weekend and where they are now in their program?
Well, you're just watching a little bit from afar. I have not watched any tape yet of them on Monday because we're trying to finish up our weekend with Notre Dame before we return attention. But just looking at from a statistical standpoint, they had a goalie transfer in from St. Lawrence who was an All-American. Kind of solidifies that spot. They got some incoming freshmen that have done a nice job on the back end. I think one of the changes you see in their team is a lot more depth offensively than what they've had the last couple of years. A lot of guys with 4, 5, 6, 7 goals up till now, so they're going to be a deeper team offensively.
We'll let you get to the video from last weekend and this weekend in your new video room. We'll let you get back to that, Coach. Thanks for taking the time today, and good luck this weekend and the rest of the year.
Thank you.
He's Don Lucia, coach of Gopher men's hockey. A reminder, Friday and Saturday here at 3M Arena at Mariucci. Tickets are available at gophersports.com. It's the Wisconsin Badgers coming in for a border battle here at Mariucci. We'll be back on Ski-U-Mah Weekly talking gymnastics in a minute.
Glover from the point shoots, they score! It's tipped by Middlestad, and Minnesota scores the game's first tally.
The 2017-18 Gopher hockey season is underway. Get in on all the action at 3M Arena at Mariucci with a flexible 4-game pick-your-pack starting as low as $125.
Novak across the line, feeds it in front, there's a shot, they score!
Visit gophersports.com for all of your up-to-date Gopher hockey information. Gopher hockey, Minnesota's pride on ice.
Gopher men's basketball hosts Miami in a battle of top 15 teams on Wednesday, November 29th at Williams Arena. Tickets and more information are available at gophersports.com.
And a slam dunk on the drive!
If you've been on the Gopher road trip the last couple of summers, this man needs no introduction, although you might not recognize his face. You might only recognize his feet because he typically walks in and makes an entrance doing some kind of walking handstand that I can't do. But we're happy to be joined by Mike Burns from men's gymnastics. Your 14th year here at the University of Minnesota. How about that?
It's hard to believe I'm that old already. I can't believe it.
It happens to the best of us.
Well, it does. But it's been just a real pleasure to be here at the University of Minnesota all these years. And it's just another year getting ready to go, and we're excited about the season, about ready to start.
We were talking before we hit air that you're ready. You are ready for the season, and that football season, for example, is over. Some seasons in the fall are already over. You guys are just ready to get started with all the stuff you've had to do preseason to get ready.
Yeah, we have a pretty long preseason preparation phase, starting obviously when the start of school in September, and we have our Maroon and Gold Inter-Squad meet coming up on Wednesday, December 13th. So that'll be our first opportunity to get in the pavilion and actually show what we're doing, see where we are. Actually, guys are working hard. They've been training really, really hard and excited about this season. We have, I think, what's going to be a really exciting team. We got a lot of seniors on our team and some great freshmen, and some great kids in between. So I think it's going to be an exciting time for us. And we'll see where we are when we start with the Maroon and Gold Inter-Squad coming up.
And that's soon. December 13th, like you mentioned. I wanted to ask you about the seniors, because that seems like a great, I don't know if problem to have is the right thing, but a great thing for a coach to have that much experience. You have 10, and not just people that have just been in the program, but returning All-Americans and things like that. How important is that experience?
It's amazing, to get them out there and be able to feel the confidence you feel when a guy raises his hand, is about to do a very difficult routine, and you have confidence in him because he's been out there and done it before. That's our sport is very precision oriented, and there's not a lot of room for error. So what we need to do as coaches, we need to train these guys so they have this much room in terms of their variation on skills. If it's this close, it's pretty easy to fall off the pommel horse, for instance. So, we got to make sure that they're willing and able, and to be able to have that variation and that adjustment. The key to success, I think, is adjusting on the fly.
You've also brought in, I think, the #1 recruit in the country. That's pretty good. That's some would say that's elite. But tell us a little bit about Shane and what his background and how he can help you.
Shane Wiskus is a local kid from Spring Park, Minnesota. He was a gymnast at Mini Hops Gymnastics for the last 5 or 6 years, and just did a phenomenal job as a junior. He was the top guy in the country this past year. We're excited about having him on our team. He brings a lot of energy into the gym. He's doing high-powered gymnastics, and he's already got a boatload of experience. He's been competing internationally on several competitions. He's competed at the highest level nationally. So I think when he gets out there and steps out onto the competition mat, it's going to be pretty easy for him to go in and start out at a high level.
I've talked to Coach Hansen about this before too, and really with anybody, whether it's Coach Young with tennis or anything, when you have what's typically an individual sport moving up, there are team competitions and things like that, but a lot of it's just you out there competing. To then bring them into a very much team-oriented deal here at the college level, are there any growing pains with that or challenges with that, or is your team with all the experience and everything make that easy?
Yeah, I think one of the advantages of collegiate gymnastics is the fact that you plug yourself into a team situation right away, where you're not used to that in our sport. Like you said, you're out there. It's a very kind of a vulnerable situation when you're out there on your own. However, you do have the support of all your teammates on the sidelines. They're screaming for you, they're yelling for you, they're supporting you, and you can feel that when you're out there. And in a situation in gymnastics where, like I said earlier, the precision level is so high, having the knowledge that your teammates are counting on you really helps bring it to another level.
Let's get to a Facebook question or two. Mitchell has one about which tournament are you most excited about this season for Gopher men's gymnastics? I have a follow-up on that, tournament-related, but answer Mitchell's question first.
Well, our first competition is the Windy City Invitational in Chicago, and that's been going on for about 45 years now, so that's a great kickoff competition for us. However, our focus is not the Windy City this year. I mean, that's our first meet, and we'll be focused on it, obviously. But our focus is the Big Ten Championships and the NCAA Championships at the end of the season. And really, the Big Ten Championships, I think we got a great shot at winning it this year. It's anybody's ball game, though, when we get to that point in the season. And there's a lot of great teams in the Big Ten, so it's going to come down to who has the best hit percentage at that night.
Is it true? Are the rumors true that you've been spotted between MSP Airport and O'Hare or Midway and going back and forth to Chicago a time or two, getting ready for some of these respective meets?
Well, the NCAAs are going to be in Chicago.
There we go.
And so the Windy City will be at the University of Illinois Chicago, who's hosting the NCAAs. So we've been there many times, so we're very comfortable there in Chicago. It's for the NCAAs we'll fly down, but for the Windy City we'll actually take a bus down and we take the whole team. That's our first opportunity to take the whole team on a road trip. So it really helps build a camaraderie, like Don was talking about earlier. And So Chicago's a very familiar place for us, so I think it's going to be comfortable.
Well, be comfortable all year. I'm sure this won't be the last time we chat with you on Ski-U-Mah Weekly. Good luck on the 13th and everywhere else the season takes you. Thanks, Bernsey.
Appreciate it.
Mike Burns, men's gymnastics coach. Information on the schedule, information on everything, gophersports.com. Congratulations to Valerie. She is the Minnesota Lottery prize pack winner today. A reminder, we will be back next Monday right here on the Minnesota Sports Facebook page, and we're brought to you, as always, by the Minnesota